Oh, right. So I got into this thread conversation with this guy, and the publisher said efficiency isn't luck, it's designed, and AI agents should be running in the background of every business. If your workflows don't adapt, learn, and execute for you, they're already outdated. To that, I said a big mistake I see companies make, especially brand new ones, are ones who implement AI too soon. If you're launching a commoditized business, by all means take the validated playbook and implement AI. But for any blue ocean business, an AI first business is a fad. Let me explain. You don't know what works till you synthesize and validate. This is fundamental, and robots can't do that for you. They are an efficiency solution, not a proficiency solution. A skill issue is not something to outsource. It's like being a franchise and relying on an agency charging you monthly retainer for something way out of your expertise. The best companies have in-house operations to keep costs low and results in control. Humans must optimize and accelerate first, period. And then this guy said, yo, dude, thanks for sharing your knowledge. This is gold and worth noting. Would love to stay in touch and learn from each other. So he found this helpful, and I provide a lot of this advice in like communities on school, on threads, on Discord, and whatnot. Um, so yeah, this is mostly for when it comes to blue ocean solutions. And so if you're running, let's say, an agency, this doesn't really apply. Um, However, if you're trying to build, let's say, an AI app, then what I see is, for people who are not super technical, it's so easy to make an application today more than ever, right? And so the best thing to do is take a humanized approach where you're doing a done for you, like service provider in a B2B fashion, which is pretty much an agency, right? When you're a service provider that's productized. And you provide this from a humanized standpoint where, let's say you're an automation agency, an AI automation agency. Yes, you're using AI, but you're still manually putting in the prompts, right? You're still manually putting in the prompts. You're taking customer data and implementing it into AI. And an agency is one of these components or a combination of these components: AI agents, AI assistants, AI workflows, and then now AI apps, right? So like, if someone needs a custom CRM, you can offer that, right? And very easily you can create the CRM, right? A very like custom made CRM or whatever application that would assist them with their current operations, whether you're helping local businesses or coaches, consultants, or other agencies, then you can do that, right? Um, but let's say you're an agency today. You can transition into an AI application by taking the validated workflows and implementing it into an app, right? But you can't just start an app right away, right? And that's because, well, let's say you do see a gap in the market. You, you won't really have that much leverage to market the app, right? Like you won't really have that much leverage. Versus if you start with an agency approach and you build a brand around it, now you have so much leverage because you have a customer base to back it up, right? So all the customers that you've served beforehand, you can one, transition them over, and then two, the brand that you build around the agency, you build so much demand around yourself because of the content you're posting and the referrals that you're getting, right? So you're getting warm leads from referrals and content and maybe affiliates as well. You can transfer these over to an AI app, right, where they get it cheaper, faster, and you get monthly recurring from that, right? And the best models for app would be freemium, right? That's the best. A freemium model where you're charging yearly instead of monthly. It's just more sticky when you do that, and people want free, right? So if you do a freemium model where they're getting all these things for free, and there's a limitation, and then that's when you start charging money. That's usually the best model that makes the most money. If you look at the best apps out there, right? And taking. I mean, you're not doing anything super grand, right? You're not building a whole new infrastructure that shapes the whole world, right? You're just compounding leverage, and you're being very practical with your journey, right? And so this mostly applies for blue ocean businesses, but it also applies for if you want to transition into an app as an agency, because now you build like real enterprise value, right? Because um, outreach methods get less effective over time. There's always the market is getting more and more saturated. Whether you're cold DMing, cold emailing, cold calling, of course, the best form of leverage is to have content and referrals and affiliates. But to get to that point, you got to do cold acquisition first. You could take the super long route where you're going straight for the warm network, but you don't really have expertise in the game. Like you want to get skin in the game, right? Now, what I see that works really well, instead of cold acquisition from cold calling, cold email, cold DMing, all those, is starting with product aware buyers. So these product aware buyers exist on, the best warm network I can think of is Upwork, right? Where the people on Upwork are seeking solutions to products or services that they're aware of, right? And so because they're aware of the service or product, they're going to lowball you, right? And if you're cold calling, cold emailing, cold DMing, cold texting, whatever, you get to upsell on the unsophistication of the market that you're reaching out to because they don't really know about the product or service that you're offering, right? And so these are people who are problem aware, not product aware, right? And so this is how people are able to charge high ticket in the agency space or whatever, agency space or whatever service you're offering. So Upwork works well because these are problem aware people, and what you can do is you can do it for cheap initially, and you compound in expertise and experience, and you also compound in client results, which can turn into referrals, and it can also convert into content that you can post onto your YouTube channel, where through reciprocity you get them to get on camera with you or film a testimonial for you, and you get to post it, and now that gives you so much more demand, right? You have price demand, and you're also now getting warm leads through the content, right? So that's another realistic approach, which it takes more patience to do that versus going straight into cold acquisition. Because to be honest, you got to have balls to do cold acquisition, right? I've been in the sales game, so I've done cold calling, I've also dealt with warm leads, I've done sales coaching, all that. So it's tough. People want to avoid cold acquisition at all costs. So if you manage to make it work, you deserve it. But just know that it is getting less effective over time, but that doesn't mean it won't work. So it just means that you have to be more expertised at getting people to want your stuff through cold acquisition, right? It's going to get harder over time. Why? Because the market is super saturated. People are getting burned by bad service providers. They're getting spammed, right? There's so many new spam methods. Like right now, the new spam method is faceless AI content and ads, right? And the platforms are trying to regulate it as much as possible. And service providers are making a boatload of money providing these services. But I see it as a short-term trend. It's a fad right now, because the platforms are getting super regulated, right? The platforms are smarter than you. So yes, the spam method works today, but when it stops working, what are you going to do, right? With all the capital, you can go on to the next thing, but then you're kind of forming this identity where you're kind of like a trend chaser. And so you're listening to these gurus who are telling you about these get rich methods that work right now. But then when the tide is over, what are you going to do? We as humans, we gotta have something to work on, right? And I think the beauty with this AI movement is there is so much evergreen opportunity available, where you can actually build real enterprise value that is long term, is going to take a long time to build, but why not take the long term route instead of the short term route that gives you quick gains today, right? So it's always better to be a long-term player. The long-term players are the ones who actually build wealth. The short-term players get rich today and then fall out later. right? Or they make maybe like 100 grand, 200 grand, 500 grand, and they stop there. They cap, right? Because then it gets regulated and it stops working, and you're like, damn, what do I do now? So yeah, be smart. Um, Again, like this applies mostly for blue ocean businesses, like this thread here, but like the concept still applies for the agency space. Um, and if you're trying to build, let's say you're a really good backend developer or full stack developer, front end and back end, and you want to go ahead and build an app because you found a gap in the market. I myself I'm not a coder, but I understand spotting gaps in the market and how to provide solutions to the market. That you know Usually that you can definitely create a solution, an app, and market it and get sales. And considering you're really good at what you do, then it might work, it might not. But it's man, I mean, typically when it comes to making money when you have no money, it's always best to start with high ticket stuff. And the best high ticket stuff is arbitrage, right? So like the agency people are going to make more money than the people who are kind of tech savvy and want to like build these grand apps. The people who build really cool apps that really scale are the ones who join like a program like Y Combinator and get funding from investors after getting approved with their idea. And how not just the idea, but like, does it serve the market correctly? Yes. Let's see the MVP. Yes, it's good. Okay, cool. We'll fund it and we'll give you the funds to market it, and we'll also help you market it and all that stuff. So you get so much leverage to actually push it to the market, right? And this is what creates millionaires and billionaires, right? Um, but if you have no money and you're thinking, how do I make money? Then it would be arbitrage. It would be selling high ticket, right? Whether you want to get into agency or high ticket sales, or you want to arbitrage e-commerce product, then those would be the better routes. So yeah, hopefully this applied for everyone, whatever you want to do. Just know that everything is a process, right? Validation is super important. Anyway, I hope you guys found this valuable. If you did and you want to see more of me on your home feed, hit that subscribe button. Take care.